What's how did the harvest come? I heard a lot of good comments about 2021, even though it was short and drought conditions.
I mean, honestly, I think everyone's putting a good spin on it, right? Because 2020 was horrific.
Yeah.
And it was a good growing year. The drought conditions had an impact. Everybody should be down by 40 to 60%. Berries were really small.
Wow.
There's, it's the Tahoe fires. Even though it was old smoke, did blow some smoke on Napa Valley during veraison. So that's TBD. No one's showing smoke signs yet, but we're all, after 17, 18, and 20, a little worried. So who knows? But the quality looks good. It's just the quantity is way down. And the trade is hoarding now 19s because they're panicking that there's no 20s. And now they're worried that 21s are going to be probably half of what they should have been.
That's a really good point. Wow. And what did you have to do in the winemaking? I mean, I assume you had to be very careful with your extraction because you had small berries and thick skins, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone was real careful. And, the goal was to, try to extract as much juice as possible. It was disappointing. And so we were left with a lot of barrels, empty barrels.
Wow. That's nuts.
So the barrel companies, think about that. And the glass companies, no 2020 and half of 2021. They're not happy.
Wow. So that's interesting because also I read in the press, but maybe it was in California where they were saying that there was a logistics problem with getting glass.
The supply chain has been, 19 was a big crop. And so everybody was trying to get more glass than they planned for, and it's just not available. It's stuck in Europe. And so unless you bought from Mexico or there was excess Chinese glass in warehouses, but we found that we've had to make some glass choices different than what we normally do, just because we didn't have enough glass.
Fascinating. Like different colors and stuff, or
not different colors, but different molds. But you got to have some. I mean, look, it's either that or keeping it in a barrel or stainless steel longer. So everyone.
Great. And what's and were prices much more for glass then? Had they gone up a lot?
Yeah, like 20%, 15 to 20%. I mean, everything. I mean, you look at the ports everywhere; it's just crazy. We've got clients out in your neck of the woods in China and Hong Kong that can't get, their wine. There's just no shipping, or it's delayed by 60 or 90 days. I'm supposed to be doing a winemaker dinner at the Hong Kong Jockey Club in February, and we're still having a hard time booking their shipment.
This is crazy. But are you trying to ship by like FedEx or DHL? Or are you shipping by container?
This is going by sea on a reefer.
Okay. So tell me how you like the 19s compared to 18s, or if you could compare the two. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you obviously know better than I do because you've tasted so many. I actually think the 19s better than the 18s. I think the growing year was more calm and more consistent, and cooler and longer than 18 that had the spikes. And 18, as I mentioned, there could be some issues with the Camp Paradise fires up north that drops heavy smoke. It smelled like a barbecue in Napa. Nothing's manifested itself yet, but we don't know down the road.
It's interesting because I did have a couple producers with 18 who didn't make a couple wines because they were high on Howell Mountain, and they said that smoke just laid on top of there. So it is interesting you say that. Not many people speak about that with 18. I really like the vintage because they're really balanced and fresh and fine tannins. But 19 seems to, it's much more typical and beautiful. It's like 18 with a little bit more flesh and sort of pure fruit character.
That's how I would agree with you. And I think, James, no one really wants to talk about, smoke damage or anything like that, but it's a reality from 17 to 20. And, hopefully it's not in the wine. But sometimes, like, remember the fires in 2008 in Sonoma, you're kind of getting that in the Pinot Noirs now.
Yeah, I remember that, of course. That was the first real example of that, where you see it, later and it comes out and, people didn't realize that. I had a few with Don Pat's a couple of years ago, stuff that he made. And Donald was just like, yeah, look, we didn't even see that at the time. So, but I think that we're all better, at least the winemakers are better at seeing this and doing the due diligence. So luckily I haven't come across a lot of wines with smoke tank, and I'm pretty sensitive to it because I've had a lot of practice in Australia about 10 years ago.
Yeah, you're the only one, because we're still trying to train people about cork taint, let alone trying to educate about smoke taint. One of the other difference between 19 and 18, in my opinion, is it was another year of drought, and so the vines, from anywhere from 1,000 feet up, they just kept going deeper and deeper looking for water. So the berries were much smaller, and so the ratio of juice to skin was greater. So the tannins are much larger in the 19s, I think, than the 18s.
Yeah, you're right. Then that's a very good point, because 18 was was a big crop too. So that's one reason why the tannins seemed a little bit less, because you had a lot of juice. And I know that, like I remember Paul Hobbs said he had to cut back crop twice, and it just kept on coming. Yep. So, and 19 wasn't like that then. They were sort of just set in their ways, but again, drought a bit. So that's really interesting. Are these wines in your mind that need a lot of age, or you find them approachable now as well?
I mean, I think they're made in a drinkable fashion. The world's changed, James. I mean, when I started in the 80s, we would never drink a wine this young. It's to the point now that the younger generation, that's what they like. They like big, bold, fresh, and fruity.
Good.
They don't age wine. And in fact, I did this dinner, and there were a bunch of billionaires in Maui, and half of them were under 30 years old on private jets. And, they admitted to me they just don't like wines that are older than 5 years, because they think it's lost their the elements of fleshiness and chewiness and things like that.
Whoa, that's really fascinating.
I go with the flow, but, for me, we talked a little bit about, like, when I do wine seminars, I always talk about my sweet spot for wine. Everyone's different, but for me, I need at least 10, 15 years of age on wine to really get into it. But this younger generation, my kids are the same way. I got kids in their 20s, and them and all their friends, it's all about, what's current.
That's really true.
Well, when you come out, you got to meet Steph and Aisha. They're just,
I'd really like to meet them.
They're great partners, James. They came out last weekend. We did a charity event, and it was poker at my house with Steph and Thomas Keller cooking. It went for $365,000. And they do stuff like that with us all the time. And, they pick grapes, they blend, they do everything. And, I say that because I'm really opposed to celebrity products. Everybody is making a tequila, everybody's making a wine, but they're real partners in food and wine. And, I told them from the get-go 9 years ago, we're only doing, 500 to 1,000 cases, and it's got to be something. That's why we put their name on it. They want to keep it for kids.
Have a great
James,
evening. Great to catch up.
Keep us posted on when you guys post stuff. Okay.
Yeah, will do.
All
Okay,
right,
brother. Thanks again.
Thanks,
it was fun. Thank you.